Hey everyone, some massive prices going up for Bitcoin and Shiba Inu, and so far Bitcoin might just explode tomorrow, and so does Shiba Inu. Look at this, it's up now, it's finally up 3%. While it was looking a very grim day, something big happened I wanted to show you guys. El Salvador is now the first country that will accept cryptocurrency as a legal tender, which means a payment of option. This is huge. Not only is El Salvador going to be the first country, there's going to be a lot of countries to follow. So be sure to drop a like, because this is basically the start of the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency life. We're going to be seeing big increases for Shiba Inu right now. I know I've been saying, this coin will explode tomorrow, this coin will explode tomorrow. Well, here it is. We have started now. We're on a big train hype. So definitely hold your coins. And again, not financial advice, but it's very obvious that whales have started to buy back into Shiba Inu from what I'm seeing so far. There have been big updates from mainstream media. It's being reported all over the news. El Salvador becoming the first country to accept Bitcoin is pretty massive, because this means other countries could follow up. Imagine US buying 2 trillion of Bitcoin. Imagine what would happen with the price. The global crypto market cap is 1.56 trillion. This is nothing. It can be much more. It can be 10 trillion easier. A 7% increase over the last day. We're seeing a 4 trillion market cap, and it's definitely going to be improving. Like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, this is going up. This is just the beginning of something very strong I'm seeing so far. Definitely a start of something big for Shiba Inu, especially Doge. Doge going up. Doge can now finally hit $1. It actually does deserve it. Was waiting for that $1 for a long time. And Bitcoin hitting 80K. Yeah, I think this could be the start, of something big. Again, I was saying, we're going to be seeing a bit of dips, but after this is great news for long term. Solana up 20%. That's actually insane. But what does this exactly mean for Shiba Inu? Well, Shiba Inu's swap might be just released right now, because it's a green day. They're waiting for the final updates. They already gave an update on this one. So I wanted to show you guys. We see so far, like SHIB has some important updates to share with us. But there's so many new updates. Like history is made. The Bitcoin law has been improved. And this is like a massive step in history. The CEO actually responding to this. Next day will be hectic depending on the feedback from CertiX. So being fun and kind has ended. If you haven't already figured out what we do when a swap releases, for more technical updates, follow the official channels. And feedback from testers was phenomenal. There's some UX issues I can be improved and move as we go. Process will work well, and UI is beautiful. So I said I won't be on here much moving forward, and I meant it. Of course, he's working on the big project so far. This is huge news, and just seeing this does mean that actually this coin will pretty much explode soon. From Shiba Inu, this is some amazing news. If you woke up to this, if you're watching this right now might be a good time to look into this coin, because what we're seeing so far is this is the first signing. Like, if you don't think this is big news, then you're obviously very new to crypto, which is completely fine. We can see for ourselves how Bitcoin would function as a currency, and could it stay. I'm new to crypto, but I understand how it could be considered a viable currency though. Basically, if I put 10K in a bank, a year later it's still 10K, but Bitcoin fluctuates. So currently this is what you have stable coins for if you don't want your cash flow to not fluctuate as much. So you buy, for example, USDT. It's always going to be $1. And, Bitcoin as a legal tender, it can be sent as a currency. It's going to, have even more transactions. It's going to have, more wallets volume. More people are going to be buying in. And we're talking about millions. Actually, El Salvador will hold 150 million in a trust fund through their development bank. They've been partnering up. Imagine what this happens to other cryptocurrencies, that want to offer something to countries, such as Shiba Inu, offering to a country that they will create a coin for them that will work exponentially. This is just super hype news, and I wanted to show you a few clips on what the mainstream media reports on this, what the cryptocurrency news channels report on this. Like, this is just amazing news. So let me show you this
conversation, because Bitcoin bouncing back this morning. This after El Salvador approved the digital currency for use as a legal tender. Comes a day after the price of Bitcoin plunged on fears of a crypto crackdown by the IRS and that seizure of parts of the ransom paid to hackers by Colonial Pipeline. Joining us right now is Perian Boring, founder and president of the Digital Chamber of Commerce. Good morning to you. We've seen sort of a wild move in Bitcoin, and I'm curious what your take is, both on what we just heard about what's happening in China, but also what we're hearing about what's happening in El Salvador. Is that a credentializing mechanism, or is that something that says, okay, hold on here?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly been a very exciting week. I just came back from Miami where this announcement was first made about El Salvador making Bitcoin legal tender. We now have our first country that's really embracing this in this way. They're going to be the first of many. Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Fed, in March of this year, stated that Bitcoin is more of a substitute for gold than the dollar. So what does that mean? Well, central banks around the world are holding the dollar as a reserve asset, and they're also holding gold as a reserve asset. Then the next logical step is we will see central banks substituting gold for Bitcoin for gold. So the question you should be asking, who's going to be the first central bank to do that? And eventually all these dominoes are going to fall. And what we're going to see is Bitcoin becoming a reserve asset.
Does it ever become a currency, though? First of all, by the way, I'm not sure I agree with you. And obviously, you're in this business. You have a lot of Bitcoin. You represent the crypto world. So let's just make sure everybody understands, what side everybody's on here. But does it ever become an actual currency? Because as far as I can tell right now, in terms of transactions, and when I say transactions, I do not mean just trading of Bitcoin. It seems to be used, unfortunately, more for ransomware than anything else.
Bitcoin is becoming a substitute for gold, not for the dollar. So we're talking about the base of the monetary layer, a store of value. When it comes to a store of value, Bitcoin is really prevailing as the winner there and has solidified its role. And that's what's happening in the international.
How is it a store of value if it was worth $64,000 a month ago and is now worth half?
Yeah, you got to understand this technology is literally 12 years old. It's very nascent. As adoption increases, that volatility is going to level out. And if you look at the volatility indexes, they are decreasing over time. We believe we're anywhere between 20 to 25% of households owns some form of cryptocurrency today. Once we get to 80, 90% adoption, you won't see that volatility. So yes, in the short run, you do have these big swings, but it won't be like that in the long run.
Well, a question I have is, how feasible is using Bitcoin as a currency? And well, it turns out a small town in El Salvador called El Zonte, also known as Bitcoin Beach, has been experimenting with building a self-sufficient community that operates on Bitcoin. And joining us now is Bitcoin Beach Director Michael Peterson in El Salvador. Welcome, Michael.
Good morning.
So, Michael, I feel like you're in a great position to weigh in on this. What's some of your insights on, the reaction in El Salvador to this news?
No, I think the people in El Salvador are just ecstatic that they're able to kind of lead the way and become the first nation in the world to adopt Bitcoin as an official currency. I think the markets are really underestimating the long-term impact that this is going to have. I think part of that is just because El Salvador is a smaller country, but as those of us in the Bitcoin space know, this is how game theory works. It's one small domino knocks the next and then to the next. And so I think this will go down in the history book as the moment that the financial world was kind of reshaped. And so, yeah, I really think we're going to see this play out over the next year in a way that everybody's underestimating.
Can you tell us a little bit, though, about how actually this works in practice? Because, we definitely are hearing a lot about how this is a watershed moment for finance and the sort of symbolic part of it. But how is this actually going to change things, both in El Salvador and the world?
Well, I think for El Salvador, it allows them to connect to the global economic system and financial system in a way they haven't been able to in the past. As people who have traveled quite a bit know, the world is really kind of segmented. The financial systems are kind of different walled gardens, and so it's hard for people to send funds from one across borders. There's a lot of friction. There's a lot of money that's kind of siphoned off during that time. And so this will allow basically El Salvador to connect to its diaspora, across the world. It'll allow people to send remittances with hardly any fees being involved. And it'll allow El Salvador to really bring Bitcoin jobs into the country. We established Bitcoin Beach about 2 years ago, and we've demonstrated that that Bitcoin can really be used in transactional ways. We have a whole community that's transacting in Bitcoin on a daily basis. Probably 90% of the families in our community are using Bitcoin for anything from buying 25 cents worth of tortillas to paying their electric bill. And we've seen that this allows them, people that have been traditionally unbanked, to now have access to digital payments. It allows them to have hope in the future. They can work remotely and be paid by Bitcoin companies in the US and make wages that are significantly higher than they would be able to make locally. And so it's really going to be transformative.
And ostensibly, it will probably be helpful for the government as well. I mean, the government is doing this, I imagine for their own purposes. And recently, there have been some concerns about the current government, in particular about leaning towards authoritarianism. I'm just wondering if you have any take on that, or if this is something that people should be thinking about.
I mean, of course, always we want to make sure that governmental power is kept in check. But I think a lot of the concern has been unwarranted. I think people confuse the popularity of Nayib Bukele for authoritarianism. And I mean, I think he has like 90% approval rate right now in El Salvador. And we've been down there for 17 years, and I've never seen the country, have the hope and the positivity that they have right now. And to have a leader that's kind of, pushing forward, trying to get rid of corruption and problems they've had historically. And so I'd ask people to give them the benefit of the doubt, and let's see how this plays out.
So, Michael, what does this mean, Bitcoin mean right now for the people of El Salvador? How do they view it? What's the sentiment? I know you've got your experiment there, but overall, you go to San Salvador, you walk around, you talk to people. What is their view of it? Is it still something that's kind of like, oh, they know it's there, but it's not something they use in their daily lives, or is it something they're interested? Like, what's the feel there?
I would say, yeah, in the capital city, probably the most of people aren't using it in their daily lives yet, but they're definitely very aware of it. We've been making the news, both internationally, but also nationally. Come pretty much every week, there's another news story coming out of Bitcoin Beach. And so people are very aware of what's happening. They're very aware that for the first time in their life, they have the opportunity to invest in an asset that's going to go up over time rather than go down over time. I think what most people in the US don't realize is for the majority of the world, they don't have access to stocks. They don't have access to other assets that they can use to build wealth. And so for people to suddenly have access to an asset that they can save in, that's going to go up over time instead of going down over time, this is really transformative for them.
That's assuming that it will go up over time. So is the sentiment that, well, yeah, exactly. I mean, but is the view of it as what exactly? Is it, are they looking at it as a means of transaction, or are they using it as a store of value?
Both. I mean, they are using it as a means of transaction because for most of them, they don't have any other means other than physical cash. So this is their first chance to be able to make mobile payments. This is the first chance for them to be able to frictionlessly send payments over borders or to receive remittances from family members in the US without having huge fees siphoned off in the process. And so, yes, it's very transactional for them. It's not just digital gold. But it is also digital gold. They have a way that they can save that, they know there's no guarantee it's going to go up in value over time. But you look at its brief history and, obviously it's only 12 years old or 13 years old. So you can't, set too much security in that. But it also has shown that it is continuing to gain traction in the world, and people know how network effects happen. And once that snowball gets rolling, it's going to be very hard for it to stop.
Michael, maybe you can go into Bitcoin Beach a bit. How many people are in the community, and what were some of the barriers to get over in terms of technical knowledge needed to operate a Bitcoin wallet and how to custody your Bitcoin, and how are they dealing with rising transaction fees?
Sure. So actually in El Zonte, where we started, it's a small village, only about 3,000 people. But we've kind of expanded the whole region. So now there's a few 100,000 people that are interacting with Bitcoin on a fairly regular basis. And initially, we found that we focused too much on the technicalities of Bitcoin, too much on the history, and that was a little overwhelming to people at first. And we found the best way to get people transacting is just to get them transacting. Let them make their first few transactions, and then they have that kind of aha moment if they're like, wow, this is pretty amazing. For the first time in my life, I can send mobile payments.